March in Canada is still a frozen wonderland. Snow, and the kind of cold that makes you question your life choices. So I made a better one. I escaped. Destination? Colombia. A land of sunshine, coffee, color, and chaos. In the best way possible. This trip took me from the capital Bogotá to the colorful town of Guatapé, the lush coffee hills of Salento, and the vibrant streets of Medellín. Ready to dive in? Let's go! If you're in Bogotá and looking for something truly out of the ordinary, forget the usual museums and parks, go underground. Literally. We took a day trip to the Salt Cathedral of Zipaquirá, and let me tell you, this place is wild. It's not just a church. It's a church carved into a salt mine. 200 meters below the surface, the cathedral features 14 stations of the cross, all sculpted from salt rock. It's part spiritual, part sci-fi, and 100% impressive. Back in Bogotá, we switched into remote work by day, tourist by night mode. Who says you can't have it all? First stop, Montserrat. We took the cable car up the mountain, which felt like riding an elevator to heaven. At the top, there's a 17th century church and a panoramic view of the entire city. Bogotá looked like a giant Lego set from up there, and the night view of the city? Chef's kiss. Next, we dove into the world of chubby art at the Botero Museum. Fernando Botero is Colombia's most iconic artist, and his signature style is, well, let's just say he never met a skinny subject he liked. Everything's delightfully plump and weirdly elegant. Then came the bling, the Gold Museum. This place is like a treasure chest exploded. Over 50,000 pieces of pre-Columbian gold artifacts, all shimmering under museum lights like they're auditioning for a music video. After Bogotá, we traveled to Salento, the heart of Colombia's coffee region. Cocora Valley is its crown jewel, tall, majestic, and a little bit surreal. We hopped on a colorful Jeep, yes, standing on the back like locals do, and bounced our way through winding mountain roads until we reached the valley entrance. Just as we arrived, the sky decided to add some drama. Light rain, mist, and a breeze that whispered, "Welcome to the jungle." Cocora Valley is famous for its wax palm trees, Colombia's national tree and the tallest palm trees in the world. These things are ridiculous. They shoot up 60 meters into the sky like nature's version of skyscrapers. Standing beneath them, you feel like a tiny extra in a fantasy movie. We chose the shorter hiking route, because rain, mud, and altitude are not a power trio I like to challenge. But even the short trail was magical. Rolling green hills, fog weaving through the trees, and those palms swaying like they're doing yoga in the clouds. If you love coffee, Salento is basically your spiritual homeland. And if you don't love coffee, well, you might after this. We visited El Ocaso.
Now if I squeeze it here into my hand, I find the coffee seeds or beans. Normally we find two, but sometimes we find one single bean. And that's a genetic anomaly, a mutation. It's called pea berry. Pea berry is special because all the caffeine that were meant to be for two beans go directly to one single bean. So it's going to be a stronger coffee, but also it's more expensive in the market.
This farm is where beans go from humble little seeds to the glorious brew that fuels our mornings and Zoom meetings. The tour was like a coffee documentary, but in real life. We learned about planting, harvesting, fermenting, drying, roasting, and brewing.
Oh, but there are also brushes some.
Once finished, there are still a few of them.
够吧。
That's why we get after the fermentation process. Now they're going to be here for 2 weeks for the wine. Can you tell me which fermentation process is this one? Exactly. And underneath, just put it like in that part. And the rest of the coffee is packaged here and ready to be sold. That's basically the whole process from planting the seed to the roasting and packaging, selection and packaging. Questions for you for preparing a good cup of coffee at home? The first one is about roasting. Remember, the one that I just recommend you here is medium for having balance in flavors. Then we have grinds. You can find coarse, medium, fine, or extra fine grinds. But the grind depends always on the method of extraction that you use at home. For example, for the French press, the recommended one is coarse. Because in the French press we have a fully measured method, so the coffee grounds are always in contact with water between 4 to 6 minutes, and then you press it down, you press a plunger. If I use that fine grind here, those particles that can be extracted quicker, and then after 4 minutes your coffee is going to be over-extracted. Over-extraction means that it's more bitter. But also those particles, those fine particles, they pass through the filter in the French press, and then you get a pasty sensation in your palate. So it's not recommended. On the other hand, for the espresso machine, we need fine grinds because then we have shorter extractions. Water passes so fast, between 20 to 30 seconds is maximum, with pressure. If I put a coarse grind there, it's just like washing the coffee grounds, and the coffee is going to be watery and over-extracted. So it's better a fine grind. Temperature in water, the recommendation is that temperature may be between 90 and 93 degrees Celsius or 194 degrees Fahrenheit. If I use boiling water, I can over-extract the coffee. So again, you're just highlighting bitterness in your coffee. So never boiling water next time you extract coffee. And then ratio, that's the relation between coffee and water. So recommendation is for every 8 grams of coffee, that's the amount that we're having in this scoop, you can use 100 milliliters. That's perfect for this coffee. That's for a mild cup of coffee. If you prefer stronger coffee, you can use 10 or 12 grams instead. That depends on your coffee.
And then came the tasting. Freshly roasted, hand-brewed Colombian coffee, and it tastes even better when you've walked the hills and met the beans yourself. The whole experience was peaceful, educational, and just the right amount of caffeinated.
We're going to drink this coffee with no sugar and no milk. Okay? Black coffee. If you want to taste, to appreciate all the different flavors and real notes in your coffee, it should be like this. Okay? But this coffee is sweet. I promise.
On our last afternoon in Salento, we decided to end things on a high note. We climbed up to the town's famous viewpoint, Mirador de Salento. The view? Absolutely stunning. Rolling green hills, the Cacra Valley stretching into the distance, wax palms poking the sky like nature's skyscrapers, and the Andes Mountains wrapping around it all like a giant green hug. It was the perfect way to say goodbye to Salento. After that, we traveled to Medellín and took a day tour to Guatapé. First, a llama farm. Yes, llamas. We fed them, took selfies, and tried not to get spit on. We cruised past even the ruins
It is in ruins
of
because it
Pablo
was bombed by
Escobar's
the
old
group of the
mansions.
Pepes in 1993. The Pepes were the enemy group of Pablo Escobar, and their acronym means persecuted by Pablo Escobar. This farm was his second most important, the first one in Puerto Triunfo, Hacienda Napoles. To that farm Pablo brought animals of many species, the zoo and hippos. To this one brought vegetation. As you can see, there are trees all around the farm brought from various countries of the world. In the middle of the bamboo trees, you can see what the sports area was. It had a micro football, basketball and volleyball court. In the upper part, where you can see these concrete columns, Pablo had the stables. He had a residence field so that the horses wouldn't lose their way. The largest construction we see on the bottom, built it for the guests. The open part were the garages. At the bottom were the rooms for drivers and bodyguards. In the middle of these two buildings is a large swimming pool, and the smallest construction located on the left side was the wet area, rumba and barbecue.
Then came the climb. It was steep, sweaty, and halfway up I questioned all my life choices. But once I reached the top, the view was unreal. The reservoir stretched out like a blue-green puzzle, dotted with islands and surrounded by mountains. Totally worth the sore legs. Guatapé is one of those places that feels like a dream. Bright, bold, and a little surreal. If you ever visit Colombia, don't miss it. If you had told someone 20 years ago that Comuna 13 would become one of Medellin's top tourist attractions, they probably would have laughed. And then told you to stay far, far away. Once known as one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the city, Comuna 13 has undergone a transformation that's nothing short of incredible. And today, it's a living, breathing canvas of resilience, creativity, and community pride. We joined a local walking tour, and from the moment we stepped in, it was clear, this place has soul. The walls are covered in massive murals, each one telling a story of struggle, of resistance, of hope. If you've ever wanted to feel like a bird, or at least a very nervous bird strapped to a parachute, paragliding in Medellin is the way to go. We headed out early to a launch site in the hills just outside the city. The view was already amazing from the ground, but I wasn't there to admire it. I was there to run off a cliff. Below me, Medellin stretched out like a living map, red rooftops, winding roads, green hills. It was peaceful, surreal, and absolutely breathtaking. Next, we wandered through the Medellin Botanical Garden. This place is a green oasis in the middle of the city. It was the perfect way to wrap up our time in Medellin. From a cathedral carved into a salt mine to soaring over Medellin with a parachute strapped to my back, this trip through Colombia was nothing short of unforgettable.